I just found out my fiancé has been sending explicit photos to his ex, and now he's demanding I let her move in with us because he wants both of us to be his wives. I want her to move in with us, and you'll both be my wives." Those were the words that stopped my heart dead in its tracks. It wasn't a joke, it wasn't some twisted prank. He meant it. But let me back up. A week ago, everything seemed normal. We were 3 months away from our wedding, planning the final details. I've been with Jake, 34M, for 4 years, and we've been engaged for almost 1. He's charming, smart, and thoughtful, or at least I thought he was. But what happened last week changed everything, and I'm still reeling from it. It started with an innocent enough night. Jake left his phone on the couch while he stepped outside for a smoke. A message popped up. It wasn't just any message. It was a preview from his ex, Natalie, 33F. Her name immediately caught my eye. I knew about her, of course. He told me early on about their messy breakup, how she was crazy, and how he wanted nothing to do with her. Apparently, she couldn't let go of him. At least, that's how he'd framed it. I know I shouldn't have opened the message. I've never been the kind to snoop, but something about it didn't sit right with me. Maybe it was the fact that he'd talked about her less and less over the past few months, or maybe it was just some gut instinct telling me to look. Either way, I tapped the notification and opened their chat. What I saw, I'll never forget. Explicit photos of him, of her, of them talking about meeting up. Messages that left no doubt in my mind what they'd been doing behind my back for God knows how long. My breath caught in my throat and the blood drained from my face as I scrolled through their entire conversation. It wasn't just a one-off message. It had been going on for months. The man I was supposed to marry in less than 3 months had been sending explicit photos and messages to the woman he claimed was out of his life. I must have stared at that screen for 10 minutes before Jake came back inside, his phone still in my hand. He looked at me and instantly froze. He saw my face, saw the way I was clutching his phone like it was a bomb that had just gone off. "What's wrong?" he asked, his voice a little too casual, like he knew exactly what was wrong, but didn't want to deal with it. I couldn't even look at him. "What the hell is this, Jake?" His eyes flicked down to his phone, and in that moment, I saw panic flash across his face. He wasn't even trying to play dumb, he knew. He just hadn't expected me to find out this way. "Listen," he started, his hands up like he was trying to calm me down. "It's not what it looks like." I laughed, an ugly, bitter sound that didn't feel like it was coming from me. "Not what it looks like? You've been sending nudes to your ex for months. Explain to me how that's not what it looks like." Jake ran a hand through his hair, looking more annoyed than guilty. "I didn't want you to find out this way. I was going to tell you." The rage hit me all at once, like a fire in my chest. "You were going to tell me? When, Jake?" "On our wedding day." He had the audacity to sigh, like I was the one being unreasonable. "Natalie and I, we've been talking, okay. She's been going through a rough time, and I didn't want to leave her hanging. But this has nothing to do with how I feel about you." I stared at him in disbelief. "Nothing to do with me? You're cheating on me, Jake. How is that nothing to do with me?" "That's not fair," he snapped, his voice suddenly sharp. "I didn't cheat. We just talked. It got out of hand, sure, but it wasn't about us. It's more complicated than that." Complicated? He was seriously going to stand there and act like sending explicit photos to his ex, the woman who had supposedly been obsessed with him, was some kind of mistake. "You're unbelievable," I said, my voice shaking with anger. "I trusted you. I've planned a future with you, and this is how you repay me, by sneaking around with her." Jake took a deep breath, his tone softening like he was trying to reason with me. "Look, I didn't mean for this to happen, but it's not what you think. I love you, okay? I'm still committed to you. But I've been thinking about something I think could work for all of us. I narrowed my eyes. What the hell are you talking about? He took a step closer, his voice low, like he was revealing some grand solution. I want you to meet her. Natalie, I've been thinking. We could make this work. She needs me, and I love you. I don't want to hurt either of you. I blinked, completely thrown off. Make what work? What are you even saying right now? Jake hesitated for a second, and then the words came out, calm and steady, like he'd been rehearsing them. I want both of you in my life. You and Natalie. I want us to be together. All of us. It took me a second to register what he was suggesting. You want both of us? You mean like a threesome? He shook his head, still calm, as if this was some rational conversation. No, not like that. I mean, I want both of you to live with me. I want to marry you, but I also want Natalie to move in with us. I think we can all be together. I love you both. I stared at him, my mind spinning. You want me to share you with your ex, as if that's something any sane person would agree to. He nodded, completely serious. It's the only way I see this working. You two could get along if you just met, and once we're all together, things could be different. We could all have the life we want. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My fiancé wasn't just cheating on me. He wanted me to live with his ex, to be part of some twisted polygamous fantasy where we both share him. You've lost your mind, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. You're actually insane. Jake didn't flinch. I've thought about this a lot, and it makes sense. You just need to meet her. I backed away from him, the room spinning around me. I'm not meeting her. I'm not marrying you. And there's no way in hell I'm sharing you with anyone. But as I turned to walk out, his next words stopped me cold. You might want to reconsider, because if you don't, I'll make sure everyone knows what kind of person you really are. For a second, I thought I misheard him. I stopped dead in my tracks, my hand already on the doorknob, ready to leave him and this entire nightmare behind. But then his words hit me again, clearer this time. I'll make sure everyone knows what kind of person you really are. I slowly turned around, my pulse pounding in my ears. What did you just say? Jake crossed his arms, his calm demeanor slipping into something darker, more sinister. You heard me. I'm not bluffing, Emily. The weight of his words settled in, twisting my stomach into knots. This wasn't just a delusional fantasy about sharing his ex with me. This was blackmail. He had something on me, something he thought he could use to manipulate me into staying with him. My mind raced as I tried to figure out what he was talking about. What could he possibly have on me? What kind of threat would be enough to make me reconsider walking out of this relationship? I don't know what you're talking about, Jake, I said, my voice trembling with a mix of fear and anger. What are you trying to pull? He smirked, his eyes glinting with a sick satisfaction. I'm not trying to pull anything. I'm just giving you a choice. You can either stay with me, work this out with me and Natalie, or I'll start telling people the truth about you. The truth? What truth? He was bluffing, he had to be, but his confidence was unnerving. You're insane if you think I'm staying with you after this. Jake didn't flinch. I'm not the one who's insane, Emily, you are. Or at least, that's what people will believe once I start telling them what you've done. My heart dropped into my stomach, the fear creeping in deeper now. What are you talking about? He took a step closer, his voice low and dangerous. You think I don't know about those nights you came home drunk? The times you got so out of control that I had to step in, make sure you didn't hurt yourself. You think I haven't noticed how you've been spiraling? You've got issues, Emily, and I've been covering for you. I stared at him, horrified. He was twisting things, taking moments from our relationship that weren't even remotely connected to what he was implying. Yes, I'd had a few rough nights. I'd gone out with friends and had a little too much to drink. Who hasn't? But he was making it sound like I was some kind of reckless mess, like I had a problem. That's not true, and you know it, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. You're lying. Jake shrugged, his expression cold. Maybe, maybe not. But who do you think people are going to believe? Me, the doting fiancé who's been by your side for years, or you, the woman who can barely keep it together half the time? I wanted to scream, to throw something, to slap that smug look off his face. But I knew he wasn't kidding. Jake was smart, calculating. He knew how to manipulate people, how to spin things in his favor. I had seen him do it with his friends, his co-workers, even his own family. He had this charm about him, a way of making people believe whatever narrative he wanted them to believe. And now he was using that against me. You wouldn't, I whispered, my voice shaking. You wouldn't do that. Jake tilted his head, giving me a look of mock sympathy. I don't want to, but you're giving me no choice. I love you, Emily. I want to build a life with you, but that life includes Natalie, and I need you to accept that. Otherwise. He didn't need to finish the sentence. The threat hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. My mind raced through the possibilities. If Jake started spreading rumors about me being some unstable, out-of-control fiancé, people might actually believe him. He'd twist the truth, make it seem like I was the problem. And if he was convincing enough, those rumors could spread fast. My family, my friends, my career, they could all be tainted by his lies. I took a step back, trying to steady myself. This is insane, Jake. You can't just force me into some twisted relationship with you and your ex by threatening me. He shrugged again, his eyes cold. I'm not forcing anything. I'm giving you a choice. If you don't want to make this work, that's fine. But I'm not going to sit back and let you ruin everything just because you can't handle the truth. The truth. I spat, my anger rising again. The truth is, you're a cheating liar who's trying to manipulate me into sharing you with another woman. That's the truth. Jake's jaw clenched, and for a moment I saw the mask slip. The calm, controlled facade cracked, and his eyes flashed with anger. You don't get it, do you? I'm offering you a way out, a way to keep everything intact. We can have the life we planned, Emily. You, me, and Natalie. It doesn't have to be this complicated. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. He was standing there, talking about this like it was some reasonable solution, like he wasn't completely unhinged. You think I want that? You think I'd be okay living with your ex, pretending like this isn't the most disgusting betrayal I've ever experienced? He took another step toward me, his voice dropping to a whisper. You will be okay with it, because the alternative is much worse. You lose everything. Me, your reputation, your job. Everything you've built could come crashing down because you can't handle the idea of sharing me. I backed up, my heart pounding in my chest. He was really going through with this. Jake wasn't bluffing. He was willing to destroy me if I didn't play along with his sick fantasy. But I wasn't about to let him win. I wasn't going to give in to his manipulation, no matter how terrifying the consequences seemed. Go ahead, I said, my voice steadying. Tell whoever you want whatever lies you want. You think you can control me with your threats, but you're wrong. I'm not scared of you, Jake. His expression darkened, and for a second, I thought he might actually lash out. But instead, he just shook his head, a cruel smile tugging at the corner of his lips. You will be. I grabbed my keys and left without another word. My heart was racing, my mind reeling from what had just happened. Jake had shown his true colors, and they were darker than I ever imagined. I didn't know what his next move would be, but I knew one thing for sure. I had to protect myself, because if Jake was willing to destroy me to get what he wanted, then I had no idea how far he'd go to make sure I fell. I spent the next few days in a state of complete paranoia. I kept expecting the bomb to drop. The moment Jake would start telling people his twisted version of events, the lies he used to turn everyone against me. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. My mind was consumed with the thought that, at any moment, my life as I knew it would be ripped apart. I didn't tell anyone at first. Not my family, not my friends. How was I supposed to explain this? Hey, I just found out my fiancé has been cheating on me with his ex, and now he's threatening to ruin my life unless I let her move in with us as his second wife. It sounded insane. I didn't know how to even begin unpacking that mess, and honestly, I wasn't sure anyone would believe me. Jake was charming, manipulative, and he had a way of making people see him as the victim. He was already positioning himself to make me look like the unstable one. But I couldn't stay silent for long. The situation was eating me alive, and I needed someone to talk to, someone who could help me figure out what the hell to do next. I called my best friend Hannah 32F and asked her to come over. I didn't give her any details over the phone, just that I needed to talk. When she arrived, I could barely keep it together. I hadn't realized how much the stress had been weighing on me until I saw her standing in my doorway, looking at me with that familiar warmth and concern. "Jesus, Emily, you look like hell," she said, stepping inside and giving me a hug. "What's going on?" I pulled away, taking a deep breath as I motioned for her to sit down. "It's Jake. Something's happened. Something bad." Her eyes narrowed, instantly alert. "What did he do?" I hesitated, trying to find the right words. How could I explain this in a way that made sense? How could I even begin to describe the level of betrayal, manipulation, and insanity that had unfolded in the past week? "Jake's been cheating on me," I started, my voice shaking. "With his ex." Hannah's face fell, her eyes widening in shock. "What? Emily, are you serious? After all this time, after everything he said about her?" I nodded, my hands trembling as I continued. "I found out a few days ago. He's been sending her explicit photos. They've been talking, meeting up. I don't even know how long it's been going on. But that's not even the worst part." Hannah leaned forward, her expression shifting from shock to anger. What could be worse than that? I took a deep breath, the words catching in my throat. He wants me to let her move in with us. He wants to marry both of us." For a moment, Hannah just stared at me, as if she hadn't heard me correctly. Then she shook her head, disbelief washing over her face. "You've got to be kidding me. Jake wants you to. What? Share him? Like, live in some twisted sister-wife situation?" I nodded again, the weight of the words sinking deeper now that I'd said them out loud. "He thinks it's the only way this will work. He claims he loves us both and doesn't want to choose between us." Hannah's mouth fell open. "And what did you say?" "What do you think I said?" I snapped, the frustration bubbling to the surface. I told him no. I told him I wasn't interested in playing along with whatever sick fantasy he's got going on. But then he threatened me. "Threatened you? How?" I could see the concern on Hannah's face turning into something sharper, more protective. She wasn't the type to let anyone mess with me, and this was no exception. He said if I didn't agree to this arrangement, he'd start telling people things about me. Lies. He's going to make me out to be the unstable one. He's threatening to ruin my reputation, my life. Hannah's expression darkened, her fists clenched on the armrest of my couch. "That *ing a hole. Are you serious? He's blackmailing you to make you stay with him and his ex." I nodded, my chest tightening. "Yeah, and the worst part is, I think people will believe him. He's got this way of spinning things, making people think he's the victim. He's already started planting seeds. He's been telling me for months that I've been acting off, that I've been stressed and emotional. like he's trying to paint me as unstable before I even realized what was happening. Hannah sat back, processing everything. She was furious, but I could see the wheels turning in her head. "Okay," she said finally. "First things first, we need to protect you. If he's planning to spread rumors or twist things against you, we need to get ahead of it. Does anyone else know about this?" I shook my head. "Not yet, but I'm sure it won't be long before he starts talking to people. I just don't know what to do. I feel trapped." "You're not trapped," Hannah said firmly. "We're going to figure this out. But you need to get your story out there first, before he has a chance to poison people against you. Tell your family, your friends. Don't let him control the narrative." Her words made sense, but the idea of airing out this dirty laundry was terrifying. I didn't want people to know how bad things had gotten, didn't want to admit how blind I'd been to Jake's manipulation. But Hannah was right. If I didn't do something soon, Jake would take control of the story, and once he did, I'd never be able to claw my way back. "I can help you," Hannah continued. "I'll be there with you every step of the way. We'll talk to your family first, get them on your side. Then we can go from there. But you can't let Jake win." I nodded, feeling a mix of fear and determination bubbling inside me. "Okay," I said quietly. "Let's do it." The next day, Hannah and I sat down with my parents. Telling them was one of the hardest things I've ever done. My mom, 62F, had always loved Jake, thought he was the perfect match for me. They'd always gotten along so well, and I knew how crushed she'd be when I told her what he had done. But there was no turning back now. As I explained everything, Jake's cheating, his delusional idea about bringing Natalie into our home, and the threats he'd made against me, I watched the color drain from my mom's face. My dad, 65M, who had always been more skeptical of Jake, sat there stone-faced, listening to every word without interrupting. But I could see the tension in his jaw, the way his hands clenched into fists on his lap. When I finished, my mom looked at me with wide, disbelieving eyes. I don't understand. Jake, he's been so good to you. Are you sure this isn't just some misunderstanding?" I shook my head, my heart sinking. "It's not a misunderstanding, Mom. He's been cheating on me for months, and now he's threatening to destroy my life if I don't agree to let his ex move in with us." My dad finally spoke, his voice low and controlled. "This son of a has been playing us all, hasn't he?" I nodded, tears welling up in my eyes. "I didn't see it before, but yeah, he has." My mom covered her mouth with her hands, tears filling down her cheeks. "I don't understand how someone could do this to you. He seemed so perfect." "I know," I whispered, wiping away my own tears. "I thought so too." My dad stood up abruptly, pacing the room. "We need to go to the police. This is blackmail, plain and simple." I shook my head. "I don't have enough proof. It's all just words right now. If I go to the police, he'll twist it, make it seem like I'm the one overreacting. I need to get ahead of him before he has a chance to really hurt me." My dad's eyes narrowed, and I could see the protective anger burning in him. "We'll figure this out, Emily, but I'm not letting him get away with this." As I sat there, surrounded by the people who cared about me, I felt a surge of strength. Jake wasn't going to win. He might have thought he had all the power, but I wasn't going to let him dictate the terms of my life. The fallout had begun, but I wasn't going down without a fight. I had barely slept since telling my parents everything about Jake. The constant fear gnawed at me. What if he started spreading his lies before I had the chance to protect myself? What if he convinced everyone that I was the problem? Every time I closed my eyes, I imagined his smug face, calmly telling anyone who'd listen how I was unstable, how he was trying to help me. That's how manipulative he was. I knew it, and I knew he wouldn't stop until he got exactly what he wanted. The next morning, the dread I had been waiting for finally arrived. Jake made his move. I woke up to a flood of messages on my phone. Friends, co-workers, even distant relatives had started reaching out. My stomach dropped before I even opened the first one. The messages ranged from confused and cautious to outright concerned. "Hey, I just got off the phone with Jake. Are you okay? Emily, I heard some things. Call me. Is everything all right between you and Jake? He's been saying some strange things about your mental health." I sat up in bed, my heart pounding in my chest. He had done it. He had started telling people his version of the story, painting me as the unstable fiancé, the one who was spiraling out of control. I scrawled through my messages in disbelief, feeling like the walls were closing in. He was moving fast, and if I didn't act now, he'd get ahead of me. Just as I was about to call Hannah to figure out our next move, my phone rang. It was Jake. For a moment, I thought about letting it go to voicemail, but I needed to know what he was up to, what exactly he was telling people. I answered, my voice tight with barely controlled anger. "What do you want, Jake?" There was a pause on the other end of the line before he spoke, his voice calm, almost gentle. "Emily, I just wanted to check on you. I've been worried." I clenched my teeth. "Worried? You've been spreading lies about me for the past 24 hours, and you're pretending you're worried." He sighed like he was speaking to a child who just didn't understand. "I haven't been spreading lies. I've been telling people the truth. You've been acting out of control lately, and I'm worried that if you don't get help, things are going to get worse." My blood boiled. Acting out of control? You mean finding out that you've been cheating on me and then blackmailing me into some delusional fantasy with your ex? Yeah, I think my reaction is pretty damn justified. Jake's tone didn't change. It was like talking to a brick wall. "Look, Emily, I get that you're upset, but lashing out like this isn't going to help anyone. I've been nothing but supportive, and this is how you repay me? By trying to tear me down." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. He was turning the whole thing on me, making himself out to be the victim, and he was so convincing. That was the most terrifying part. Jake knew how to get into people's heads. "You've told everyone, haven't you?" I asked, my voice shaking. "You've told them all I'm crazy." "I told them the truth," he replied smoothly. "That you've been struggling, and I've been doing everything I can to help. But if you keep going down this path, people are going to start wondering if I'm the one they should be concerned about." I was shaking with rage. "What the hell is that supposed to mean?" "It means," he said, his voice lowering, "that you've got two options. You can either work this out with me and with Natalie, or I'll make sure everyone knows just how bad things have gotten with you. You know how convincing I can be, Emily. People trust me." I was speechless. He wasn't even hiding it anymore. This was pure blackmail. He knew exactly what he was doing, and he was enjoying every second of it. "I'm not playing your game, Jake," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "I'm done with you." He chuckled darkly. "I don't think you understand what's at stake here. This isn't just about us anymore. I've already told a few people what's been going on, and you can bet they're going to start asking questions. You don't want this to get out of hand, do you?" I took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. "I've already told my family everything. I'm not scared of you anymore." There was a pause, and for the first time, I heard a hint of doubt in his voice. "Your family?" "That's right. They know what you've been doing, Jake. All of it. You might be able to fool other people, but not them." Jake was silent for a few seconds, and I could almost hear the gears turning in his head, calculating his next move. Finally, he spoke, his voice harder now. "Fine. If that's how you want to play this, then I'll make sure everyone knows exactly who you are. It's your choice, Emily. But once this goes public, there's no going back." I hung up without saying another word. My hands were trembling, my heart racing. Jake had crossed the line, and there was no going back now. He wasn't just trying to win me back or control the narrative. He was threatening to destroy my entire life if I didn't fall in line. But I wasn't going to let him. I called Hannah immediately, my mind spinning with everything Jake had said. He started telling people, I said, pacing my apartment as the adrenaline pumped through my veins. He's already spreading rumors, and now he's threatening to go public. Hannah cursed under her breath. That son of a asterisk. What's his endgame here? Does he really think you're just going to roll over and accept this? He thinks he can break me, I said bitterly. He thinks he can control the narrative and turn everyone against me before I have a chance to defend myself. Hannah didn't hesitate. Then we need to go public first. You've got to get your side of the story out there before he gets any deeper into people's heads. I sat down, trying to steady myself. How? What am I supposed to do, Hannah? Post it on Facebook? Send out a mass email? This is going to blow up no matter what I do. Hannah was quiet for a moment, and then she said, It's going to be ugly, Emily. There's no way around that. But you can't let Jake take control of this. He's already setting you up to look like the bad guy. If you wait too long, he'll win. I knew she was right. I had no choice but to go public with everything. Jake's cheating, his insane plan to move his ex into our home, and his threats to ruin me if I didn't agree to his terms. It was going to be humiliating, and people were going to talk, but it was better than letting Jake destroy me on his own terms. I'll do it, I said finally, my voice shaking. I'll tell everyone. That night, with Hannah by my side, I wrote the hardest message of my life. I crafted an email to the people who mattered most, friends, family, and anyone else Jake might try to poison with his lies. I laid out everything, from the moment I found the explicit photos on his phone to the threats he had made when I refused to go along with his delusional plan. I didn't hold anything back. By the time I finished, my hands were shaking. I hovered over the send button, my heart pounding in my chest. You've got this, Hannah said, squeezing my shoulder. This is your story. No more letting him control it. I nodded, took a deep breath and hit send. There was no turning back now. After I hit send, there was nothing left to do but wait. The silence felt unbearable. Every time my phone buzzed, my stomach dropped, my heart raced, and I was sure the fallout had begun. I expected Jake to explode, to launch his counterattack. I expected the whispers, the judgment. But the longer I waited, the more surreal everything felt. It was like the world was holding its breath, waiting for the storm to hit. Then it started. The first call came from my cousin Laura, 29F, someone I'd always been close with. I had grown up with her, confided in her about everything, but the second I heard her voice on the phone, I knew she'd already spoken to Jake. Emily, she began cautiously, like she was stepping around broken glass. I just got your email. But I talked to Jake yesterday, and he seemed really concerned about you. Concerned? I bit back the rage that was boiling in my chest. Jake had planted that seed, and now Laura, my cousin, was doubting me. I could feel it in the way she spoke, the hesitation in her voice, the subtle disbelief creeping in. Concerned, I repeated, trying to keep my voice steady. Concerned about what, Laura? The fact that he's been cheating on me for months, or the part where he threatened to ruin my life if I didn't agree to let his ex move in with us. There was a pause on the other end of the line. He said you've been really stressed lately, she said slowly. That maybe the pressure of the wedding was getting to you. He didn't tell me about the cheating, but he said you were pushing him away. Pushing him away. Of course, that's how he framed it. He was playing the victim, painting me as the unstable one, like I was the one tearing us apart. This was exactly what I had feared. He's lying, Laura, I said, my voice cracking. I'm not stressed, and I'm not pushing him away. He's the one who's been sneaking around behind my back. I caught him sending explicit messages to his ex, and when I confronted him, he told me he wanted both of us to be his wives. This isn't about wedding stress. It's about him manipulating everyone to cover his tracks. The disbelief in Laura's voice faded into confusion. Wait, what? He said he wanted both of you. Yeah, I said bitterly. He wants her to move in with us. He's trying to blackmail me into accepting it, and when I said no, he started spreading rumors that I'm the one who's unstable. Laura was silent for a few moments, processing. I had no idea it was like that, Emily. I'm sorry. I don't know what to believe anymore. Her uncertainty stung, but I knew it wasn't her fault. This was exactly what Jake wanted. He thrived on confusion, on planting doubt. He was counting on people like Laura to waver, to wonder if maybe he was the reasonable one. I'm telling you the truth, I said quietly. I wouldn't lie about something like this. Laura sighed, her voice softening. I believe you, Em. It's just hard to wrap my head around. Jake seemed so normal. Normal. That was Jake's biggest weapon. He could wrap himself in normalcy like a cloak, hiding his true nature behind charm and calmness. I thanked Laura for listening and hung up, feeling more drained than ever. It wasn't just Laura. Over the next few hours, I received a flood of responses. Some of them were supportive, shocked and outraged on my behalf. Friends like Rachel, 28F, called me immediately, furious at Jake, offering to help in any way they could. But others weren't so sure. There were more than a few people who had already spoken to Jake, people who had been convinced by his version of events, and each time I read their messages, my stomach turned. I'm sorry, Emily, but Jake said you've been acting really off lately. Are you sure you're okay? This doesn't sound like Jake at all. Are you sure you're not overreacting? I think maybe you two just need to sit down and talk this out. Jake seems really worried about you. The worst part was, I could hear his voice in those messages. I could practically feel him whispering in their ears, spinning the story to his advantage. He'd made himself the concerned fiancé, the one trying to help his poor, unstable bride-to-be. As the day wore on, the tension kept rising. I knew Jake would confront me eventually. He wouldn't be able to resist. And sure enough, just after 5 p.m., my phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't a message. It was Jake calling. I hesitated for a moment, my heart racing. I didn't want to talk to him. I didn't want to hear his voice, to listen to his excuses or his attempts to manipulate me further. But I knew I couldn't avoid him forever. I answered, steeling myself for whatever came next. Emily, Jake said, his voice calm and composed. Too calm. I saw your email. I didn't respond. I didn't owe him anything. I'm disappointed, he continued, like he was scolding a child. I thought we could handle this like adults, but you've decided to air our private issues for everyone to see. Do you have any idea what kind of damage you've done? Damage? I snapped, finally finding my voice. The only damage being done here is by you, Jake. You're the one who cheated. You're the one who tried to force me into some twisted arrangement with your ex. I don't owe you anything. He sighed, and I could hear the frustration creeping into his voice. You're blowing this way out of proportion. I've been trying to help you, Emily, but you're making it impossible. You're unstable, and people are starting to see that. I clenched my fist, fury boiling inside me. You don't get to gaslight me anymore. You can tell all the lies you want, but I'm not going to let you control me. There was a long pause, and when Jake spoke again, his voice was cold and more dangerous. You've made a mistake, Emily. If you think this is over, you're wrong. I'm not going to let you ruin my life. I laughed bitterly. Your life? You've been cheating on me for months, Jake. You ruined this. People believe me, he said quietly, his voice dripping with confidence. They always do. You can send your emails and cry to your friends, but at the end of the day, they'll believe the calm one. And right now, that's me. I felt a chill run down my spine. Jake was right about one thing. He had always been calm, composed. He knew how to play the long game, how to chip away at people's doubts until they believed whatever he wanted them to believe. But this time, he underestimated me. I'm not scared of you, I said, my voice steady. You can try to manipulate people all you want, but the truth is out there now. You can't take that back. There was silence on the other end of the line, and for a moment I thought he might hang up. But instead he chuckled, a dark, cold sound that made my skin crawl. You'll regret this, he said softly. You'll regret it when no one's left to believe you. He hung up before I could respond, leaving me sitting there, staring at my phone in disbelief. I knew Jake wouldn't back down easily, but hearing the venom in his voice made it all the more real. He wasn't going to stop until he had torn me down, piece by piece. But I wasn't going to let him. Over the next week, I continued to reach out to the people who mattered most, my close friends, my family. I laid everything bare, and with each conversation, I felt a little stronger. Some people believed me right away. Some took a little more convincing, but slowly the tide began to turn. Jake's lies weren't sticking as well as he thought they would. And then, one night, I got a call from Natalie. I almost didn't pick up, but curiosity got the better of me. I needed to know what she had to say, why she was reaching out after everything Jake had put me through. When I answered, her voice was quiet, almost hesitant. Emily, I'm sorry. I had no idea. I frowned, confused. What do you mean? I didn't know Jake was lying to you, she said, her voice trembling. He told me you two were on a break, that you knew about us. I didn't realize he was playing us both. For a moment, I couldn't speak. The anger, the betrayal, the months of hurt, it all boiled to the surface. But then I realized something. Natalie wasn't the enemy. Jake was. He had played us both, manipulated us both, used us to feed his own delusions. I'm done with him, she continued. I just wanted you to know that. In that moment, something inside me shifted. Jake's power over me, over both of us, was breaking. I had told my story, and now people were starting to see the truth. He wasn't invincible. He wasn't untouchable. He was just a manipulative man who had finally been exposed for what he truly was. As I hung up the phone, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. The battle wasn't over, but I had taken control of my life again. Jake had tried to destroy me, but I wasn't broken. I was stronger than he ever gave me credit for, and now I was free.